Hello, everyone. It's a delightful Bangalore afternoon or evening, as you may say. It is 30th of January, and I'm recording the first podcast for this year. The objective of the podcast has been to meet with people coming from different parts of technology. Eventually, we would like to interview also people non-technology. Maybe interview some singers. People from various walks of life, and the objective is to learn, share, and obviously, get to know people and learn a lot of lessons from their life and all that. So I'm delighted to have one of my very good friend, and I have happened to know him for almost close to 10-15 years now. He's based out of in Chennai, Mr. Kamalkannan S, who currently is a freelancer, but I have given him a role here, sort of like identifying him as a senior consultant technical writer. And Kamal was very kind enough to actually be on the podcast. I asked him to be long time back, but for some unfortunate reason, I just could not happen to start. The podcast. So here I am. So let me start off straight away. Kamal, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Rajib.
All right, Kamal. So let us start off with. So why don't you tell our audience a little bit about your, right from your schooling and college, and how did you start off your journey in technical writing?
Okay. Hi, everyone. Good evening. So, this is Kamal. I am based out of Chennai. I grew up in Chennai. I did my schooling in a school called St. Patrick's Anglo Indian Higher Secondary School in Adyar, Chennai. Then I did my graduation from Chennai University. I did a BSc Max. Then I did a postal MBA from Indira Gandhi National Open University. So I passed out of college during 1988, and from that point onwards till 1995, I was working for the non-IT industry. Then during 1995, I moved to IT industry and I started working for Cognizant Technology Solutions. This company was then called as Dun& Bradstreet Satyam Software. So I joined as assistant to the vice president who was taking care of business development activities. So this gave me an opportunity to work on proposals, and that was my window to content writing. Later, as my career progressed, I moved into a lead role, building teams from scratch. I learned the different tools that are used in content writing and different ways of approaching content writing across different companies, from user guide to topic based writing, and so on. And I also had a brush with my running my own startup during 2011 to 2013. I registered my own company, started providing content writing and web designing solutions. For some reasons, I couldn't continue it further, so I moved back to the software industry again, and I work for some companies. And in between, I have also done freelancing for different organizations, both in Bangalore, Chennai, and I also worked for some years in Pune as well. So this in my this in a nutshell is background about my career in the IT industry during the last 30 years. So Rajdeep, over to you. So do you want me to go into some specifics?
Not really. We'll go into that a little later, Kamal. So thank you very much for that, for the round of introduction and telling us something very interesting about it. Now, the audience that of the podcast that we are going to have people um, from technical writing. So I'm assuming that if we have a junior and mid-level writers also. So
Hmm.
um, a question that comes to my mind is, how has the role of a technical writer changed over the years from the time that you started and now?
Yeah, so it's a good question, Rajdeep. Thanks. So when I started, in Cognizant as a technical writer. So we were basically dependent on the testing team and the development teams to give us information. So as you would know, then most of the companies were following the waterfall model of development. So we came in at the very last. So after almost the development was done, we were given information, we were given demos. So we were kind of cut off from the rest of the development activities. So all that we need to do was get the content ready, create the user manuals and online help, and get it done before the time of delivery. But now, as almost everyone would agree, we are in the agile world now. So the development teams have to work in parallel along with the development and testing team, and we are almost, I would say, 100% part of the effort. So what it means is, so we need to get to know the product as much as the other teams in the organization know. So, and when each phase of the project or each feature of the project is developed and it's ready for shipment, we also need to be ready with the development effort. So we are always on our toes. So that's a sea change that I see from what it was about 20-25 years ago and what it is now. And now I see many tech writers get into API writing. So which means that they need to know technology as well. So there is great value addition to our roles in these software organizations, Rajdeep.
Okay, great, Kamal. So you said about from the point where you were, from the point where we had to do certain things to get or to earn respect from the product team to get knowledge. What expectations do you think the product teams or the engineering teams have from technical writers today?
Uh, so definitely to fill in the gaps that they may have in terms of preparing documents, creating content. I see many engineers and testers themselves can write very good content. But in terms of how to put it coherently is a skill that we possess. Fine, and so we and to put content in a fashion that the end user can understand easily. That's something which, as technical writers, we have kind of built that skill over the years. Fine. So this is something that the rest of the organization looks forward from us. And the second thing is following standards and style. Because why I mean standards and style is it gives an I would say unique experience to the audience when they read our documents or our content. So we can maintain we can maintain the flow of the information in a structured fashion by following standards and style. And so and people will know that what they see is what they get. So this is something we bring to the table. And added thing is we our interviewing skill, our probing skills, we get information about even small things which the developers or testers might not be able to provide. So we can move across the organization, fill in those information gaps more efficiently. This is something I have seen that people look forward to from the tech writing teams.
Lovely, very nice. Kamal, I'm very interested to know. Also, I believe a lot of people from the audience that can you typically can you tell us a little bit about your process? Typically, when you are approaching drafting a new product or feature from a documentation perspective, can you give us a scenario where how do you typically go with doing that job?
Okay, so I'll take the example of the last organization that I worked with. I worked with them for almost 3.5 years. It was an aircraft maintenance ERP. Fine, it was a small organization. So wherein so the software requirement specifications were written by the business analyst. So the first point for us to look into is the SRS documents. Fine. So we kind of have a thorough understanding of the document and understand what the feature means for the audience, what the feature means for the release specifically. Fine. So once we get to know that, so we know what kind of questions we need to ask of the testing team or even the business analyst and the developers. So we come up with a set of questions, and when they invite us to their project meetings, we kind of ask these questions, and we request them to give a demo of the feature. Fine. And so because this product has been there for almost 20 years, so this feature could be a new feature altogether, or could be something which is add on to an existing feature, or could be an enhancement. Fine. So we need to know where this fits in, and which module this fits in, because the ERP has different modules. So we need to find out which module this fits in, or some of the features could span across different modules. Fine, like finance, maintenance, marketing, aircraft operations, and such. So we need to find all those things, and we need to come up with the proper questions, and so we need to have proper guidance for the subject matter experts. So these are things that we need to have it in mind. So when I say all this, so the onus is on us to gain the domain knowledge. Fine. Because when we work for smaller companies, the company, the teams don't have the time and resource to train us. So from day one, we are on the job. So we need to do background research. So but when we started, there was not much of the AI activities that we see now. So we need to depend on documents. We need to do research. We need to touch base with people in the UK where the headquarters was there, and getting the knowledge. But with AI being there, I think the gaining domain knowledge could be much easier these days, Rajdeep. Fine.
Okay, fantastic. I guess you're advocating AI for, getting relevant information and, in absence of SMEs, I believe AI can really help technical, right? Especially when it comes to documentation and when you have to understand and document complex systems. Um,
Sure, Rajit, because we didn't have that advantage about 3 years or
hmm,
even about a year back,
yes.
but now it kind of really it would empower the tech writers who are on the job these
Hmm.
days.
Uh, Kamal, have you? I'm sure you have seen that there are a lot because you spoke about collaboration, you spoke about collaborating with the product managers and SMEs and all that. Have you found all of them to be um, documentation friendly, or were there any challenges that you have come across?
Definitely, Rajdeep, because uh, not all fingers are the same, right?
Hmm.
So it's like that. So there could be people who are really tough, and probably their toughness does not say that they don't want to give the information. Probably because they are tied up with their day-to-day activities. And secondly, the communication also. I don't mean that they lack the spoken language skills or whatever, because they may not know how to put that information across to us. Fine. So there is a mixture of SMEs, people who are really friendly. Again, I would take the example of my last company, because that is in my recent memory. I am not naming the person, but
Hmm.
this person is so friendly, who had worked with the airline industry for almost 20 years. So when we meet him for to get a feature update, you would give the background information and how the feature fits into it in the entire industry scenario, and then explain the feature. So what this gives us is we know how it fits in and how do we document it. And in case we need more in business information to add, we would do more research and add it. Fine. At the same time, I've also come across resources who are a little bit tight-lipped. Maybe because, as I said, communication, they do not know what to give. So this where our questioning skills come into play. So we need to come up with as much as questions as possible and really fine tune the questions and to pull that information from them and speak in their own language. By language, I mean it could be the same English, it could be the same Tamil, it could be the same Hindi or whatever, but the tone. Our tone has to be kind of fine tuned to get that information from them. So it, it's it's a tough fact at times, Rajdeep, to get such information. But that's uh, that's our role, that's our career. So we can't shy away from that fact. Fine.
Hmm. Yes, very true. Attitude resulting in confidence, and how much is attitude and results in confidence, which results in better content or better documentation? What do you think about that?
Definitely, Rajdeep, because by attitude, I would take it as I need the information. I would be really resilient enough. This kind resilient enough to get the information, and so when I have this kind of resilience, and I believe in my own skills. My skills is like how do I get that information, and by I mean the tech writing community as a whole. So once we know that, we know how to present the information coherently, and as I said, we know the domain, because without knowing the domain, it'll be difficult to gel well with the existing team. Fine. So we need to know the domain, and we need to speak their own language, and we also need to know a little bit of technology, how things happen at the background and things like that. So when you know these skills, or when you have these skills, it really builds a confidence. Fine. And once you get the confidence, so you can crack the document in the first two drafts itself. Because so once you make the document run into several drafts, the confidence levels on both sides goes down. So it's always better to kind of bring the document to some kind of perfect shape, in my opinion, in the first 2 to 3 drafts. Fine. So we need to have these skills, Rajeev, like writing skills. Definitely, it's a given. It has to be a given. There's no second thoughts on that. And domain knowledge. Now, because I have worked for small companies, I have worked for free as a freelancer. So when you work as a freelancer, there's nothing like a training period. Fine. So on the first day, you are required to submit some documents. Fine. So you need to go with the mindset that you know the domain. You need to understand the technology that people work on and deliver it. So I'll give an example. I worked for a very small startup who were into a product called Visual Sim. It's a modeling tool for electronics industry. Fine. So before an electronic product is built, a modeling tool is created. Fine. It helps the engineers to know how the information will flow, where the information could lag, where the information could fail on due to what factors and such. Fine. And I was very new to electronics then. But I sat with the team before even I went to meet them. I did some research on certain domain specific terminologies and such. So, and then I was able to do that. I even created some couple of white papers for them. I created a user guide for them looking at the Visual Sim tool. It's fine. So it gave me real confidence because I grasp that background information much in advance. Fine. So, so definitely, Rajiv, your question was quite on the spot. Attitude, right attitude, really builds confidence, and definitely you would be a winner. Fine.
Excellent. You answered on the skills part, on the tools part, um, on freelancing also. You've spoken about it. I guess I can ask you a lot of things. Maybe quickly you can talk about such as API documentation and how you about a little bit about UX writing. How do you see overlapping with technical writing?
UX writing and API documentation, I haven't done much, Rajdeep.
Okay.
See, API documentation I've done to a very small extent. Again, this with my last company. So we had to create, we had to document some of the APIs for the client to plug into their product. So as I told, this was an aviation software ERP, but some of the clients add some of the modules. Fine, like they might have a finance module, they may not have a maintenance module. So but so this company provided the APIs for the maintenance module. So I had used so what we did was we went to the database at the back end. We found information for different fields. So what could be mandatory fields, and then we came back and we used Swagger. Fine. So what we did with Swagger was the information that we got from the database about these different fields. So we plugged in that information, ran the API, and found the results, and then kind of documented it. So wherever failures happened, we got to know why the failures happen, and what and which is a mandatory field, and if it's a mandatory field, what kind of information needs to go in, and all that. We did kind of a elaborate way of documenting that, working with database from the back end, and using Swagger to pass these APIs, get the results and all that. But why I said I don't have much of API experiences, but when I read people write about API documentation, it seems to be little bit or somewhat different from what we did. So this is my experience with API documentation, Rajdeep. But UX writing I have never done.
Okay, okay, great. So that's fine, Kamal. Maybe some other day we'll discuss a little bit more on that. Now you
Okay.
spoke about freelancing and consulting. The couple of things that and because I run a small entrepreneurial setup of mine, Blue Dots Consultancy Services. The lot many
Okay.
times people these days talk about freelancing, consulting's fully remote kind of a thing. Especially interested if you can tell me what made you consider freelancing or consulting, and what were the real challenges that you found of freelancing as a technical writer.
Okay. So yeah. So when I quit my regular job during 2011, sometime during mid 2011, I was managing a team in a semiconductor equipment company in Chennai. Then I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to start my own. I want to build a company which delivers content as well as web designing services. This was a challenge that I wanted to take up. In fact, I registered my company. I want to do it in a very proper fashion, and I even took a office space on lease. I even built up a team of about 4 to 5 people, web
What was
designers
it
and
called,
content.
Kamal? Your
It was called a Scorpac, SCORPAQ,
okay,
Scorpac Consulting. So I started it. In fact, I was getting projects too, Rajdeep, then
okay.
from good companies in Chennai. So I was working, it was going fine. Then what happened was one company which was about to give us quite a few good projects kind of folded up. They were bought over by their competitor, and their entire Chennai office closed down. Fine. So this was a big shock for me, and I was running my own organization out of my own money. So there was no funding. I was kind of the organization was eating money day in and day out. Fine. So then I thought it could be too risky for me to run that beyond a point. Fine. So then I kind of wound that company up, kind of deregistered that company, and then that's the reason I took up freelancing. Fine.
So,
No, because yeah, go ahead.
so this is a common mistake. A lot of first-time freelancers or people who get into business, they should also know when to call it quits.
I understand, Rajdeep. Yeah, true. Uh, because I didn't want to keep losing money. I did lose
Hmm.
a lot of money during
Hmm.
that time,
Hmm.
but I didn't want to keep losing it because I was on the wrong side of 40 by then.
Hmm.
Fine. No, because as you know, the IT industry are carrier years kind of starts reducing once you cross 40, right?
Absolutely.
So I didn't want to do that, and my earning potential would also go down.
Hmm.
So that's the reason I kind of closed that company, and again did a proper closure of that,
Yeah.
deregistered the company
Hmm.
and all that.
Hmm.
So then, but then I thought like, why not do freelancing?
Hmm.
Right?
Hmm.
Because while running the company, I found that how to get projects.
Hmm.
Fine.
Hmm.
How to get projects is like I got a project through you
Hmm.
because you were a contact then,
Hmm.
and I had also got projects through Saravanan.
Hmm.
Saravanan is again a well-known person within the tech writing community.
Hmm.
So this how like by kind of um, networking with people like you all
Hmm.
and networking through LinkedIn.
Hmm.
So that's how I kind of started getting projects. Fine. So again, in freelancing, the challenge, as I mentioned during the course of our discussion, is you don't get time to get knowledge on the product. Fine.
Yeah.
So the very first day that you go to meet them is your starting day.
Hmm.
Fine. So they assume that you know everything.
Hmm.
Fine. They assume that you know the domain, you know the product and all that. And the other thing is, most of the companies that I work with, small companies, they do not know what they want.
Hmm.
Fine, in terms of documentation. Fine, no, because they haven't experienced a technical writer. They have not even seen a document.
Hmm.
Fine. So they do not know what they want. So once, but at the same time, once you get started, once you create about a 10-page document, then they realize, hey, this is what they want, and they ask, they question you.
Hmm.
Hey, this is not what we want, or this is what we want. This can we make changes?
Hmm.
And as you rightly said, Rajiv, attitude comes into play
Hmm.
then. Fine. Why I mean attitude is, so when you went to meet them, they did not know anything. They did not have any document. But when once you created a 10-pager, they question you, and then that's where you need to keep a very kind of silent mode and accept what they want, because they are the client, right?
Hmm.
They are the audience. They know what. So if we feel bad that, hey, I kind of gave them something and they are questioning me, it's not going to work.
Hmm.
Fine. So
Hmm.
this is a very big challenge, Rajdeep,
Yeah.
when you work as a freelancer. Fine.
Yeah.
So they don't have anything, but you'll have to create content for them, and so it ends up as a consulting.
Yeah.
Fine. So you kind of consult them that these are things that they want for their process. These are things that they want for their end users, and these are things that they want for their next set of developers. Fine. So, because why I'm saying next set of developers is, I work for another company in Chennai who are into contract management software. Fine. For real estate businesses in the US. Fine. So they were building a fresh team of developers. So they want to build they want to show their software processes to the next set of developers as a visual tool. Fine. So I used Microsoft Visio to build that kind of process-based diagrams. That was a project, Rajiv, because people would wonder that content writing means just delivering user guides and user manual. No, I did this as well. Fine. So I kind of sat with the developers, understand the flow, understood how the DB interacts with the different layers in the software documentation process. I built that. So what I meant to say is, so these are challenges that would suddenly crop up from nowhere. Fine. So because you would already be working with that client for almost 2 months, and then they would suddenly come up with this request, and you wouldn't be able to say no. Fine. So these are challenges we need to be ready with, Rajdeep. And as you rightly put the word attitude, it plays a major part.
Yeah, uh, yeah. I can connect with you in a lot of things, in a lot of ways that running a small business and what we do, how we interact with client, and for folks who are planning to start a business of their own, or are they individual. So I don't want to actually demotivate them, but I also like to tell them that if you have a hard skin and if you're ready to hard grind, because please don't look at it from a point of on your glass that you are ending up everything's going to be rosy and all that kind of there's a lot of challenges. And you, as I said, you should know, you should actually have a very good understanding of finances also in business,
Correct.
because a
Understand.
lot of people do not understand incomes coming, but there is an expense part to it. So there's a lot of things related to that point of a time. And so if you are not having, I mean, very few people have, few people, like I don't have, my family is not into business, right? I'm the first person to do something as a consulting or as something to start of my own. So I know how difficult it can be, to do a business anywhere for that matter. I'm not saying in India. In India, we still have a lot of things that we can make it work. There's always going to be a helping hand and all that stuff. But, at the end of the day, as you say, a couple of things that you mentioned, the client always comes back to us and you cannot say no. Um, Kamal, how do you, in short, how do you price your work, or um, how do you price your work generally in freelancing, based on the project scope, or how do you do that?
So what I do is I keep a ballpark estimate, Rajiv, like based on the experience level. Fine, based on the my experience level, I kind of drill it down to hourly rate. Fine. So that's how I pitch in with most of my customers. Fine, but at the same time, it doesn't work the same way for everyone,
Okay.
because they are very small companies who are running on very tight budgets.
Hmm.
Fine.
Hmm.
So they wouldn't be able to pay. See, I have almost 25 years of experience now, but I cannot go with that kind of experience level rate for everyone.
Hmm.
Fine. So I always kind of go with some toned down rates for some customers, go with the actual rate for some customers, and things like that. So we need to be very flexible in that too, Rajdeep. But at the same time, we should not be undercutting ourselves. So what will happen is, because as you know, it's a very small market, right? Then the information will go out into the market that we work in a very cheap or very very cost effective fashion. But that should not be the case. So we need to find the right balance on how we price ourselves. So I find, but it's a very thin line, Rajdeep. It's a very difficult walk, but somehow we need to make that happen.
Very interesting answer. Yeah, somehow we have to make it work. So Kamal, let's also talk a little bit about AI and the future of tech writing. I don't know how many topics have I seen in the recent months and last year that people have been part of a few conferences, been a part of certain events. Though I don't attend that many now, because of the my family life and work life doesn't allow me. Once upon a time, I was very regular to all these events and all that. So Kamal, my first question too would be that, have you got a chance to use any of these AI tools in documentation? And if yes, if you can tell me one or two about them and how did you apply them?
Uh, in organization, the only AI tool which I do not know whether we can call it as AI tool is Grammarly. Fine.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Hmm.
so Grammarly, because yeah, it definitely helps in checking the grammar and all that. So that extensively I've used in my last company. But other than that, as I said, the AI was just evolving when I was quitting that company. So it did not evolve to this level what we see now. Fine, to the level of anyone can use it. No, it had not evolved by then. But from what I see now, I've started using Gemini, Chat GPT. These two I use extensively. Extensively in the sense like I've been using to create some images and such. But from Gemini, what I see, what I understand from retrospective angle is, if only it had been available then, I would have gained more domain knowledge much more easily.
Okay. Fantastic.
Fine.
Yeah.
As I said, I had worked with really very niche documentation experiences like aircraft maintenance, which is very very niche, very very difficult to understand. Fine. And as I told you, another visual modeling tool for an electronics based small startup. Again, it's a very very niche thing. If only like a Gemini was available then, I could have done much more useful work in that space then.
So,
Fine. And yeah, so one more thing, Rajdeep, example is in my last company, we also created bug documentation because this company had two or three bug releases every year.
you mean
Fine.
to say
And
the software bugs, the errors?
software, yes,
Yeah.
software defects,
Okay.
bugs,
Okay.
defects, fine.
Okay.
So the again, it was small company. There was no one to handhold us, so we had to read DevOps. Was a place where they stored all their content. In content, by I mean is all that project related discussions between developers, testers, and project managers. They would, or even customers, support engineers. They would log in the bugs, and there would be discussions going on in DevOps. Fine. So we need to read all that through and then come up with a paragraph or two about the defects, how the defect was fixed, the effort involved, and all that. So we need to spend. We had spent a lot of time doing all that. If only we had this kind of consolidating AI tools, we could have done that those activities in a much more easier fashion. Fine. So all this in retrospect,
Yeah.
Rajdeep.
So
So yeah,
upskilling yourself in the age of AI to all
correct.
the
So
people.
yeah,
Yeah.
so we could have done. But I see a lot of scope for AI helping documentation resources going forward. But people have to kind of, as you said, upskill themselves on how to use AI better. Fine.
Yes, Kamal, is obviously everybody asks this question: is AI a threat to technical writers? Do technical writers get layoff because of AI? Do you think tech writers become obsolete? Will the people, because you just do a search and you get all the content, or you can upskill yourself? Do you think these people, writers who are average technical writers, will end up being poor because 6 months down the line they won't be able to write anything because they're so much dependent on AI? Do you think it is making too much of?
I think yeah, I think so, Rajdeep. Uh, because as I said, right, most of the like every organization would end up having their own the models, right, LLM or whatever,
Hmm.
wherein most of their SRS, design documents, test cases, documents could be stored. So again, I am assuming I haven't used the AI to such levels. All that I would need is, let's take an example of one of the features that I had worked in the recent past. How would I create a
Excuse me.
maintenance schedule for an aircraft? Fine. So when I ask an AI this question, can you give me the maintenance schedule procedures for a maintenance engineer? Fine, I would just type that question, and probably an AI which is really efficient would give me the processes, steps, and all that. Fine. So that way, my documentation is going to be given by the AI itself, right, directly. So I am assuming that given the fact that AI is kind of evolving to that level, um, documentation roles could come down going forward.
Yep.
I guess so.
See, Kamal, I just want to say this thing. So people, I'm a person who, because I'm in the business and because I get an intern and I see a lot of things happening.
Okay.
So the fact of the matter is, there have been. It's not a controversial statement because I know a lot of teams, a lot of technical writers are ousted because of the fact, for that matter, for any particular reasons. Mostly because of AI, but say from that they're not required and all that stuff. So a lot of people are losing jobs. Now the question is, my only this thing, and I know quite a few companies who, after using AI, have gone back to the basics again and say this does not
Okay.
work out for us. So I'm not surprised. So actually, in this overhype and all that sort of a thing, I think we need to be, and we're not just talking about technical writers. We can also talk about programmers. We can talk about
I
a
understand.
lot
Yeah.
of other disciplines at that point of a time. So we need to be
Yeah.
very careful and very sensible about the fact that one. I think AI can be used as a partner, or you can use it to do a lot of stuff.
I
Fantastic.
understand.
But
Yeah.
if you are going to replace and if you are going to commit yourself completely at that point of a time, then you need to ensure, I'm just purely from a business point of view, that you still
Mm.
need one person to manage, because it is like fully, if you are asking this particular person to automate the entire thing, it is quite a huge risk, because you're basically telling me to put it, it's like self-driven car, right? I mean, you
Correct.
are basically telling me that it can take care of the entire documentation and you are just going to chip in, right, and it will get this thing, give you the solution. So maybe it will not happen, but one thing for sure, a lot of tech writers are losing jobs. A lot of people are losing business because of this particular thing. We have to see in 2026 how it evolves. But at the
Hmm.
same point of a time, I would like to say the people who are listening, or especially people who are listening to this podcast, I guess the only thing that I can tell them about is that, you guys need to study, you guys need to be technical, you guys need to pick up other skill set also. So just
Understand.
don't just reiterate. And a good writer is a good writer. So come whatever it may be, you are a good writer, you are a good writer. But at the end of the day, you just have to upskill also. So, but if you are going to be dependent on chat gpt, gemini, and all that stuff for that, then I think, those days I remember 10, 15 years back, when you had only writers who were doing editing and
Understand. True.
editing task, and then suddenly one day, they're out of jobs, right? So you don't want to end up in a situation like that, right?
Understand. True, true, true. So I'll cite an example here, Rajdeep. Again, in my previous company, what had happened was there were a team of leads seated in the US, tech writing leads. Fine. So these leads were getting information or content itself and giving it to the India team. Fine. And India team had a tech writing team who were all engineers by profession, engineers by graduation. So this team was getting the content, fixing the edit information, and then kind of delivering it. But then I had to coach these people stating that you guys are engineers. You guys need to write content all by yourself. So then what had happened was these people kind of experimented with the product themselves, started writing content, and they've grown in their careers quite fast. Fine. So as you rightly put, so if we are going to limit ourselves, by limiting ourselves, what I mean is, so when you kind of probe questions as a tech writer to get the information, you need to have a domain knowledge. You need to know what the product does. And another information that I found was, people, the audience, the end users want scenarios. Fine. So we create user guides that work. The product can work in only one fashion, but people, the end user, use the product in different ways. Fine. So we need to know as tech writers what are the scenarios people could use it. Fine. So we need to ask whatever AI tool is, in this scenario, how my product would work. fine.
Hmm.
And to vet that information, we need to have that knowledge, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So as you rightly said, so the days of just getting a user guide or online help, seeing the demo, looking at test case document and creating are gone, are done and dusted.
Hmm.
Fine. So
Hmm.
we need to play a bigger role, fine,
Hmm.
to make AI as our companion and get the right information out of it
Hmm.
and present it, fine. So let's treat AI as a companion,
Hmm.
but again, we need to have our game one up on that as well.
Yes, and I haven't spoken about it. We haven't spoken about the prompt engineering part of it also.
Oh,
Let's not
okay,
forget
okay,
that you have to give prompts. You have to write
correct,
prompts.
yeah,
You cannot expect that AI to give you this thing, because one of the important thing is that every time I am actually doing this thing, I would always go and write, don't hallucinate.
correct, yeah, yeah, I
That's
understand,
very
yeah,
important aspect of it. So,
understand,
see, Kamal, the thing is, just because you are doing it, I'm going to do it. Just because you are speaking about it, I'm going to speak about it. Just because you are, that thing, that's always been the case. I have found it. Why I
correct,
need, nobody's talking about why, but we must implement it, which is a little funny thing. It has been done from the ages, isn't it? Data, why must we need data?
I
API, why
understand,
must we need API? And same goes
yeah,
here
yeah,
also, AI.
correct,
So
yeah, yeah,
the most important thing, as I said, is, do we, if you are going to implement, you better show, because you are going to invest a lot of time and effort in this thing, and not forgetting
understand,
about the money and all that stuff. So
understand, yeah,
interesting,
yeah,
this thing. Well, Kamal, I think we are going to be in the closure of this thing, so I have a quick rapid fire kind of a thing, four or five questions for you, and you got to give it quick answer to this thing and all that.
sure.
So let's start off with Kamal, your favorite movie.
Favorite movie, Nayagan, Kamal Hassan's movie.
Okay. So second, Kamal Hassan or Rajnikant.
Kamal Hassan always.
Okay. Your favorite dish that you love most. You always come whatever may be. That's always going to be something you like to eat.
See, it used to be biryani before, but now last 10 years I've been a vegetarian. I've
Oh.
turned a vegetarian.
Okay.
So again, as any South Indian would say, sambar rice.
Oh. Okay. And your favorite holiday destination.
Kerala is somewhere I love to go,
Hmm.
but now again, like during the last 10 years, I've become more religious.
Okay.
So it could be any temple for that matter.
Any temple that you suggest that you found it every time you go there? I know almost all the temples are there. Have you any Jyotirlinga especially that you have
Go
found?
visit a temple called Parsadi Temple in Triplicane in Chennai.
Okay.
But I would like to go and kind of spend some years at least in Srirangam. It is in Tiruchi. It's a temple for Lord Vishnu.
Okay.
So I've been reading about it a lot.
Hmm.
So I recently went there, but my kind of idea is to go and settle down at least for 3 4 years,
Hmm.
kind of visit the temple almost on a daily basis.
Hmm.
This is something I've been fancying for some time now.
Your favorite place in Chennai? Hangout place in Chennai?
Hangout place is definitely the beach,
Hmm.
Marina Beach.
Hmm.
It's a nice place to go and sit and watch the kind of
Hmm.
the waves kind of banging the shores.
Hmm.
I love that
Your
because I
hobbies?
lived very close to the beach
Ah.
then in the
Hmm.
younger days.
Hmm.
So I love doing that. Yeah.
Uh, so you stay in Triplicane, is it? Like you stay near
No,
to?
a year earlier, long back. But
Okay.
now we have moved quite far from there. But I keep going once in a while.
Acha, your hobbies?
Hobbies: reading books,
Hmm.
uh, watching movies, visiting friends, relatives. I'm kind of very social kind of person, Rajdeep.
Yep.
So I kind of hang out with friends,
Hmm.
move around,
Hmm.
meet people, visit temples, visit whatever. So yeah, so like yeah, so hobbies is reading and kind of meeting people, spending time with people, all
One
that.
book
Yeah.
that you loved reading?
It's again a Tamil book called Ponniyin Selvan. It's a very period novel,
The
written
movie
about
that
60s.
was made. The movie that
Correct,
was made.
correct. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So it's about 70 years old novel. I've read it twice. It's a 5 volume book.
Hmm.
I would read it again if given a chance.
Okay. Uh, One skill that you think every technical writer must master.
Definitely writing, Rajdeep, as you would have seen, right?
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
people don't
Hmm.
write coherently.
Hmm.
Fine.
Hmm.
So you should be able to write about a feature within about three, four lines.
Hmm.
Fine.
Hmm.
So which is something many people
Hmm.
lack. So because it's difficult to train someone on writing,
Hmm.
honestly.
Hmm.
Fine. So
Hmm.
that has to come inherently. So
Hmm.
once that is there, and once you know that you can write simply,
Hmm.
then other skills will fall into place easily, Rajdev.
Hmm.
Because if you don't write simply and if you are not able to write coherently, then any amount of tool knowledge, any amount of AI knowledge would not suffice.
One documentation mistake you see too often, and can you give me an example?
Again, missing out on the specific of the feature, product, domain, what it means to the end audience. Fine. So we all end up writing how the product works.
Hmm.
Fine.
Hmm.
Why the product that works that way, and why the customer want the product to work in a certain way is something we most of us keep missing, Rajiv. And I learned it the hard way because most of the customer support engineers, they kind of bang their head when customers question them.
Okay.
Fine. So they keep coming back to us, hey Kamal, can you correct this? Can you create a smaller document for me? Fine. In fact, you won't believe we even came up with a newsletter in my last company, wherein we wrote smaller pieces of nuggets of information about each feature on different scenarios. So that was a big hit within the organization then.
Okay. If you had to start over today, Kamal, your
Yeah.
journey as a tech writer, what would you have done differently?
Again, like I would have used AI tools a lot.
Hmm.
Fine. And
Hmm.
then because to gain domain knowledge, because I spent a lot of time looking at YouTube videos and
Hmm.
such. But now AI definitely, like I understand it could hallucinate,
Hmm.
but definitely it kind of provides a lot of guidance, Rajdeep,
Hmm.
on certain facts.
Hmm.
Fine.
Hmm.
So I would use it again, as I mentioned, the scenarios,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So if I have to go back and do something for the visual sim modeling tool,
Hmm.
I would kind of do some scenario searches. Why would someone want an electronics product to work this way?
Okay.
And why does an electronic product work this way? And
Hmm.
then I would have built that kind of information into my product documentation.
Yeah, I mean, the other day I was just, um, I was just trying and talking to someone about a particular client, and I mean, then I just went and did a little bit of search, and I was trying to see how that role, what was this involvement of the role in that particular domain, and in very
Okay,
simple words, I wrote to them, and they actually gave an estimate how this particular role was going, how will it impact, and why were the enterprise looking to hire people. So
correct.
definitely, those things helps out for your understanding and all that thing. One book, blog, or any resource you would recommend for technical writers?
Book. Uh, I
Anything,
am not able to.
anything resource, any website or anything that you would recommend for technical writers? Anything
I
that
I
come.
keep I keep reading LinkedIn
Hmm.
for all this information about for different people post.
Hmm.
So those I look at, I read them,
Hmm.
and then I'm part of this different
Hmm.
tech writing groups.
Hmm.
So I read those chats, information from people.
Hmm.
So those things I definitely read, and some management books here and there I read.
Hmm.
Fine.
Hmm.
So I'm not able to say with like certainty this book would definitely be helpful.
Okay.
But definitely read something, keep reading. Fine.
Hmm.
Because I have always found one thing, Rajdeep, both
Hmm.
my English or Tamil skills developed a lot because I read a lot.
Yeah.
Fine.
Hmm.
And I'm even able to think coherently because I'm reading a lot.
Yeah, and I
Fine.
keep
No,
on saying
because
this sometimes to my students or to people that do not think in your mother tongue. don't think in your mother tongue and then translate it to English. That's not how you're
Correct.
supposed to do. A lot of people
Yeah.
do that, right? A lot of
Yeah.
people actually think in their mother tongue and translate them to in English. Don't do that.
Understand.
And
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
why reading is so important, because a
Understand.
person who, and because I read a lot. I've been a voracious reader for a lot time. I read a lot, and when you read a lot, you will pick up a lot. Your vocabulary improves.
Understand.
You will not realize, intentionally or unintentionally, you will find that you are using a lot of those words in your day-to-day conversation, and
True.
automatically when you start writing, you will realize that your content, you have that confidence, it just comes up in your content automatically, kind of a thing. So
Understand.
I guess
True.
reading is
True.
a very very good habit, because a writer needs to read, but
True, true.
yeah,
It's not just English, Rajdeep. It could
yeah,
be Hindi, it could be
Hindi,
Punjabi, it could
yeah,
be any language for that matter, right? So even when we speak in our own native language, if you've noticed, people we are stuck with, let's say about 50 words. We don't use beyond those 50 words across our entire life. And what I feel is that's where the communication gaps happens when between friends, relatives, whatever, right? Because we do not know what to say beyond a point,
yeah,
because we know only those many words,
yes,
right?
yeah,
So people need to read a lot, and their attention span also has to increase, Radhi, because with all these
yes,
one
attention
minute, two
span.
minute reels,
Ah.
people are like
Yeah, I
uh,
mean,
becoming less attentive.
how difficult it is for them to not pick up the phone. Every 5 seconds they're picking up the phone and you're watching it. Go to a restaurant and see number of people are just looking and staring at their mobile phone. Nobody talks to each other. Do not talk to
Understand?
each other. That kind of a thing,
Understand?
yes, absolutely. All right, Kamal, finally, what keeps you excited about technical writing even today?
Technology, Rajdeep, because the growth in technology, right? So it is growing so fast. Even though I'm almost 58 years, I'm over 58 years now. It's really interesting to know the increase in technology in our daily lives. Fine, the impact of technology in our daily lives. Fine. So why don't we keep writing about it? So I've kind of started doing this stuff. I haven't done this quite well so far. Looking at the what do you call the freeware products? Fine. Like I want to write about them, but I haven't done that so much. So in fact, like last year, I installed two products, looking at their installation manuals. It was so tough, Rajiv, because it doesn't work the same way they had mentioned it, because it was written by some amateur people.
Okay.
Fine. So then I had to do some more research to get some more smaller tools installed to get the bigger product installed. Fine. So that is really interesting and challenging, and kind of keep my mind really working. Fine. So, no, see, did we believe that we can make payments with our phone? We didn't, right? But we are doing that now.
Yeah,
We don't even
absolutely.
carry our
Yeah.
wallets these
And we are
days.
talking
Fine.
about paying, we are talking about UPI payments that we are giving it to the, small people, which will include
Yeah.
the lady that I buy flowers every morning. I mean, who would have
Yeah.
thought
Yeah.
about it,
Correct.
actually?
Correct.
So fantastic. I mean, it's a fantastic concept and all that thing we have done. So yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Thank you, Kamal. Thank you so much for being part of the panel discussion. I wish we could have spoken much more, but we'll round it off. It's been close to 45 minutes to an hour conversation that I had with you.
Okay.
This is, again, you're the first guest on the show, and I hope to meet you again very soon, especially if I
Sure.
come down to
Sure.
Chennai or in
Definitely.
Bangalore. And
Yeah.
I will actually, do a little bit of editing. I mean, this thing, and put it up on YouTube, share the link with you and the rest of the team and all that stuff.
Sure.
Anything you want to basically say, Kamal, before we part? Any last comment for those of the people who may be listening to us, can be freshers in tech writing, mid or junior senior level writers, any sort of advice, or advice I wouldn't say, but any sort of suggestions, or any sort of conversation or last parting remarks that you want to basically give it to us?
I think we covered most of it as part of our discussions, Rajdeep. And thank you for providing me an opportunity to speak about all these on this forum. So, as we briefly touched, freelancing is not an easy go for everyone. Fine. So, ensure that your finances are on track. So, ensure that you don't have much to pay as EMIs and all that before anyone wants to jump onto the EMI bandwagon. Fine. So keep all this in mind, and to grow as tech writers, the technology is growing very fast. So grow with the technology, be attentive, because your attention span means a lot when you speak to SMEs. Research more, do more reading, do research. I don't think so. This profession is going to vanish or anything. It's going to stay, but it's going to morph into something different going forward. But your writing skills and your search skills, your passion for writing simply even complex topics will ensure that your profession will last for a very long time.
Fantastic,
Thanks.
Kamal. Thank you so much. And as Kamal says, I don't think the tech writing profession, and I think 20 years back or something, I had told, or 15 years back at a conference, I had told that I don't know if the professions such as technical writing, we're going to call technical writers, we're going to call them information developers. What we probably would wound up uh, as a person who writes, designs, maybe does coding, maybe does a little bit of everything, and we call ourselves user experience specialist or something like that. Who knows what future holds for that matter? Definitely
Correct.
interesting. But thank you so much again, Kamal. I really appreciate you taking time on this Friday evening, spending it with us.